Yes, I am the crazy bug girl. And when I was growing up, I was always the crazy bug one that had little bugs on my desk. And when we did peer support, I took all the little kids around and collected bugs and stuff. But now I've actually graduated because I've had children of my own. So now I'm the crazy bug lady. So my kind of bug business started a long time ago. When I went to university, I studied entomology, which is bug science. But knowing that there wasn't that many jobs in entomology in Australia, and it's a field populated a lot by old men, and it smells like mothballs. So I decided to do food science as a backup, which was kind of a unique combination. Some people would say a strange combination. Not me, I'm sticking with unique. But it works really well for me now because now I'm the world's only entomologist / food scientist. And I'm very uniquely qualified to bring edible insects into the Western world because I know what the Western palate is like. I know all the food standards that are involved with edible insect production. And I've actually worked with the Food Authority to develop the standards for production within Australia and New Zealand. So I know it's a big leap from liking bugs to wanting to make people eat them. So 10 years ago, we went on a holiday to Thailand. And we went on this incredible journey to discover edible insects. It kind of involved getting kidnapped by a tuk-tuk driver, which some of you that have been to Thailand can probably relate to a little bit. But in the end, I went from one of the 20% of the population that don't eat edible insects to one of the billions of people that actually do eat edible insects in the world. When I came home, I decided to have a little bit more of research about it, and I discovered that in Australia, no one did it. There was no edible insects available in Australia, and that was kind of my calling. I decided that would be me. I would bring edible insects to Australia. I know, I don't even drink either. But then I decided that I was actually on a mission and I was going to save the world. And I'm going to tell you how I did that. So that was 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, I started my bug farm, and now we work with the Food Authority to develop all the standards for edible insects for food consumption in Australia and New Zealand. And we're actually well ahead of the rest of the world because of this, because we started doing this 10 years ago. So in parts of Europe, it's actually illegal to sell insects for human consumption at the moment, and some countries don't have standards, so it's an unregulated industry. So when I first started breeding insects for people to eat, I know it's a little bit hard to think, how can you convert the steak and chips society of Australia into an insect-loving nation? Well, the key really is education. So I go out and I speak at events like this, and I appear on the television and do lots of things in the newspaper, and heaps of people see me doing things all the time. I was on Shark Tank a little while ago as well, talking about edible insects, of course. And that's the way that I get my message out there, because I want people to know how healthy edible insects are. I want them to know how fantastic they are from the environment. And I'm going to convince you guys right now, all 200, 300 of you, that it's a good idea to eat edible insects. Not that it's a good idea, it's a fantastic idea to eat edible insects, and you guys are all going to go home and start thinking of ways that you're going to use edible insects in your own cooking, okay? So, and the ones that I can't convince, so there might be one or two, they're going to go away and they're going to have that internal dialogue in their brain. So when we meet next time, you're going to come up to me and say, oh, I saw you at Real Big Things and I didn't agree with you at the time, but I've gone away and I've thought about it and I agree with you now. So I'm very stubborn like that. So first we're going to talk about nutrition. So our bodies are actually designed to eat edible insects. They're kind of like a little superfood. So if you have a 20-gram scoop, which is like a tablespoon, you guys would have like a tablespoon of whey protein or pea protein or something like that. But in that 20 grams, you've got 68.5% protein, digestible protein as well. You've got 40% of your RDI of calcium and iron. You've got heaps of essential micronutrients in there as well. So you've got 100% of your RDI of things like phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, manganese, zinc and copper. You're getting heaps of essential amino acids as well. You've got 3 times the amount of omega-3 as salmon. And you've got heaps of B12 and B2 vitamins. They're also really low in carbs and they're low in saturated fats. So all over a good mix. So you don't really need to take a multivitamin if you're having the insects. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the environment. So we all love talking about the environment, but by the year 2050, the way that we make our food won't be able to support our population. So it's specifically the way that we produce protein. So we need to start looking at alternatives, and edible insects definitely are a good alternative because it's much less strain on our natural resources to create them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare the insect production to beef production so that you can see some of the key factors. So insects don't fart. So that means they're not creating as much greenhouse gases as cows do, 1/100th of the amount of greenhouse gases in their production. The insects themselves, sorry, wasn't I supposed to say fart? Oops. So what we actually do when we make an edible insect farm is we make a bug apartment. So we use unused warehouse spaces and we convert them. So we stack all the bugs on top of each other. So we're using all the available space. And we convert that unused warehouse space. You can have bug farms in the city. You can drop in a container into an area that's ravaged by a flood or a cyclone with an edible insect kit in there. And you can produce it in a container using food waste. Okay, that's really important. So we're freeing up all our farmland to be able to make other plant-based foods that we need. Now, edible insects as well, a lot of our restaurants will send back their food scraps to us and we feed it to their particular insects, and that way that food isn't going back to be wasted. It's coming back as a usable protein product. So, and now, if you've got 10 kilos of grain, which is the thing that's up here, you will only produce 1 kilo of beef, or you'll produce 9 kilos of insect protein. And that's because insects aren't silly like mammals are. They don't maintain a body temperature. Their temperature is the temperature around them, and that wastes a lot of energy. So they're converting most of what they eat directly into body mass. So now I'm going to give you a really big wow moment, and this is the thing that I want you guys all to like tweet and Insta and all that kind of stuff that people do now. Not me. I'm in a bug farm. But if you guys just replaced one meat-based meal a week with edible insects as your source of protein, you will save over 100,000 litres of drinking water a year. Each one of you. Not all together, each one of you. That's about 4 swimming pools full of water. You just need to think about that and digest it for a second, hey? So, now that we know edible insects are really good for our body and they're amazing for the planet, but you're thinking, oh, how do I take a cricket and eat that? That's pretty strange. So, because that is quite a weird thing to do, you can use them in lots of different ways. You can, if you are eating a steak, you don't call it a cow, do you? and it doesn't look like a cow anymore, so it makes it a lot easier for us to disassociate with the actual animal. If you're eating a whole cricket, it still looks like a cricket, right? So a long time ago, I actually developed a cricket protein powder. So basically, it's dried and ground cricket, so you're still getting all the health and the nutritional benefits of eating the insect without all the eyes and antennas that go with it. And that just looks like any other kind of protein kind of powder that you would get, doesn't it? So that makes it really, really easy to use. So you can use a tablespoon in a smoothie instead of whey protein. You can use it in a curry or a stir fry instead of meat, and you're still getting all the same amino acids as you would as meat. You're still getting all the protein, so you're still getting all that good stuff in there. I've got 3 kids under 5, and they love my cricket protein chocolate chip cookies. And they know there's bugs in there. I'm not sneaking them in there. They know. Or we've even worked with McDonald's to come up with a bug mac as well. So that'll be on your list of things to do quite shortly. I really hope so. But I know that seems a little bit tricky to do. So a lot of people, one of the most common questions that I get asked is how I would use bugs in my cooking. What's my favourite recipe? But that's not what it's about, because I have so many recipes. So if you want some, just email me and I'll send you 100 pages of recipes. But what I want you to do is go away and think about what you already cook at home. And all you need to do is substitute one little ingredient. So you're substituting some of your, if you're baking, you're substituting some of your wheat flour for some insect protein instead. If you're making something that has meat instead, you could use some of the cricket powder in there instead of the meat. So you want to make foods that are easy for you to make because you already know the recipe. You want to make foods that are already familiar to you and your family. So it's not something that's strange, it's not something that's completely out there. The insect protein is kind of like a gateway bug. So it opens your mind. It takes away that ick factor that you have about eating the bug. So bugs, absolutely, don't get me wrong, they all have amazing tastes and amazing textures, all of their own. So when you can build up to it, it's fantastic to try. You get things like mealworms that have an almondy kind of flavour to them. You get ants, and different species of ants taste different. Some are lemony, some are strawberry, some have like a woody kind of flavour to them. So you can kind of build up to that a little bit. But the cricket protein is kind of the key here, because it's kind of like tofu. It doesn't have a strong flavour of its own, and it absorbs the flavours that are around it. So if you're adding chili and garlic, that's what it tastes like. There's no buggy flavour, whatever that is, but it's like tofu. So you're just adding your own flavours, the flavours that you're familiar with, and that will open your mind, trust me. So when we first started off 10 years ago, we would sell under 1 kilo of insects every week. And that would be mainly to TV shows like I'm a Celebrity or Fear Factor, things like that. A lot of 21st birthday presents in there as well, which was good, a good place to start. But now we sell over 200 kilos of crickets every week. We sell over 100 kilos of mealworms every week as well, and 50 kilos of ants. So whoever's the naughty person has to collect all those ants, because 50 kilos of ants is about 50 million individual ants. So all of our customers now aren't novelty-based customers. They're people that really have environmentally friendly minds. They want to know where their food comes from. They want to know what it's fed. They want healthy food. They want a complete diet. They don't want to be missing out parts of their amino acid profile in their diet as well. We supply restaurants like Attica and Jethro's Canteen here in Melbourne, Kylie Kwong's restaurant, Billy Kwong's in Surrey Hills in Sydney. Oh, they've moved to Potts Point, in Potts Point in Sydney, and Public in Brisbane. So, and when Noma was in Australia, we supplied Noma with their insects as well. And we need big believers like that. We need all these top chefs to show people how you can use insects as an amazing and versatile ingredient. Although you can hide it in the food if you kind of have that ick factor in your brain, but they can also take pride of place on top of the dish as the star ingredient. So we also work with a lot of large companies. So this is a news flash for everybody. We work with a lot of large companies that know that edible insects are definitely the future of food. And we've also already developed products for them containing edible insects. These are Australian-based companies that as soon as the market is right and consumer acceptance is high for these kinds of products, they have the products ready to go to push into supermarkets. So people ask me, what is the future of edible insects? We're not looking at 10 years, 20 years down the track. We're looking within the next 2 to 3 years, you'll be seeing insects in Australian supermarkets. So we know that insects are really, really healthy for us now. We know that they're amazing for the planet. And I'm telling you, so you should believe me, that they really, really taste good. But I'm going to have a little bit of an Oprah moment now. And I'm going to tell you all to look underneath your chairs. Because you get a bug, and you get a bug, and you get a bug, and you get a bug. So underneath your chairs, you actually have a little packet of roasted chili and garlic crickets. So the only allergen that you need to worry about is shellfish. So if you're allergic to shellfish, or you can pretend that you're allergic to shellfish if you don't want to try them, because insects are so closely related to shellfish that people that have an allergic reaction to shellfish can have a similar reaction in their bodies. But those insects, they just have the crickets themselves that are roasted, and they've got chili and garlic flavouring on the outside, and they're kind of crunchy like a nut, but the bug doesn't have a flavour. So you're just getting kind of the chili and garlicness, if that's a thing. So what do you guys think? Who ate it? I see a lot of people taking their packets and be like, I'll just take this home. I'm not going to try it in front of everybody. But you'll go home and you'll have that internal dialogue and you'll try that tomorrow.